The album is called Progress, and...
How did we get there?
Yeah, sorry, Gary, I started asking you a question and we tailed off, didn't we?
Can I just ask, when you was in the park, was you on the sun lounger with Derek?
Derek was my school friend, my chum.
Listen, that's controversial, I'm sorry. Steve Wright on a park bench with his mates.
We were looking for conkers, as I recall. Thank you, Howard. When did you do the album? Who produced it? Do you think there's lots of singles on there? Do you make albums because you want them to be singles? Is it any kind of concept? And it is slightly different, isn't it, Gary?
Good God, I can't remember all those questions.
Just do the first one first.
What was that? UFOs?
No, it was... When did you start recording it?
Last September we started. The funny thing was we didn't really realise we were starting either. We knew we all wanted to get in a room together. We knew we wanted to make some music. When or what it was going to be for, we didn't really know at that point. I think that was kind of the good thing. I think as the week progressed, we realised, wow, I think we're starting the record. But it was a great fun week, and with no pressure, and, you know, there was no time constraints or any of that, and I think that's why we got so much done that week.
When you hear a Take That track these days, even when it's Mark lead singing or Gary or Jason or whatever, you can somehow tell it's Take That. Is that important to you?
Yeah, that's something we don't think about, I don't think. I don't think we consider, does it sound like us, or let's make it sound like us. That just comes from us being in the room doing what we do every day.
How do you decide who's going to lead sing, or who's going to be out there?
Who pays?
You're listening to the Big Podcast from The Big Show. Steve Wright in the afternoon. BBC Radio 2.
Okay, we're back with the boys, and they're kind of co-hosting with us, if you like. Robert, how do you feel about being back in the band? And I mean this is a nice question. Are you embarrassed in any way? Because you all said a lot of stuff about each other, and then in the end it was all blowhard, wasn't it, really? And you're all friends. But is there any embarrassment whatsoever? Is that a fair question?
Yeah. I thought you were saying, is he embarrassed about being back in Take That?
No. Are you all embarrassed that, you know, after all the things you said about each other?
To be honest, nobody said anything bad apart from me. And we've had 2 years now getting to know each other again. Is it about 2 years, 18 months?
Yeah.
I've said this before, but we had a big sit-down meeting. I aired my differences, and Gary aired his differences with me. And since that moment, it hasn't meant...
You did it again the other week, though. You don't have to keep doing it, you know.
What did I do?
You did another apology to me the other week. We were in an interview or something, and you went off again, and I said, Rob, you don't need to say it anymore.
Right.
Oh, I saw that. That was on a Grady show, wasn't it, or something?
Since that night that we all had a big chat, it hasn't even been something that's on the table as anything to be concerned with.
What did you think when you were out solo? You were massively successful and are massively successful, and then the band got together without you, and they were also massively successful. How did you feel, Rob, at that moment?
When the band first got together, it was kind of like pre-rehab for me, so I wasn't in any fit state to judge anything or be aware that anything was actually happening. I'd phoned Jay, and we talked about the getting back together again, and those phone calls were great, and I enjoyed them, but then I went off to rehab and was sorting my head out. So, to be honest, I didn't notice it up until 250,000 tickets went on sale, and they sold out, and I was like, oh, crane neck, look round corner, see what's happening. So it was a mixture of a lot of things, really.
Yeah.
Happy for the lads, a little bit of resentment, a little bit of jealousy, but mainly happy.
And what about you, Mark? When you're all out doing... And I should have asked you all these questions 5 years ago, probably. But when you'd split and you were all on doing solo careers, did you ever think in your wildest dreams that the band would be back together again? And then also, after that Robbie would be back in the band? Did you ever consider that that might ever happen?
No, not really. I always hoped that we'd get in a room together. My main hope was that we'd all sit down at one point and be able to kind of move on and from the whole thing. That was always something that I thought that would be a really great thing to achieve in my lifetime. I suppose the record became more of a reality, like when the guy said about 2 years ago, that's when that door opened, that we could do something together in that capacity.
Yeah.
I'm delighted, absolutely made up on a day-to-day basis.
Is your relationship with each other, Howard and Jason, I'll ask, the same as it always was? I mean, last time I was saying to Gary, last time I interviewed you guys was in 1993 on Radio 1. And you were fresh-faced, naive. Well, so was I. But here you are, all of these years later. Is the relationship the same in the band?
The first time round, when we was together as a five-piece, we just lived for Take That. That's all it was about. And we didn't really share emotions with each other. We had great laughs. But I didn't really get to know Mark, I didn't really get to know Robbie. I probably knew Jason and Gary more than anybody else, but we didn't share emotions. But this time round, you know, and that 10-year period that we went away, you know, a few of us are married, 3 of us have got kids. Robbie's grown up. How old were you when you left the band? About
20.
Yeah,
He's
when
really
he came
young.
into that, he was very young, and you know, he wanted to do his own thing, and that was very understandable. And that's what we didn't understand at the time. Well, that's what I didn't understand. And now we're all back together. I know Robbie 5 times more than I knew him back then.
And how about you, Jason? I mean, how do you feel the professional relationship in the band and the personal relationship in the band is compared to 1992 or whatever?
Well, just like Howard was saying, just by virtue of being older, we're hopefully a bit wiser. Possibly not in some instances, but we're trying to be. I think the fundamental difference is communication. We were kids back then, effectively, and as Howard was saying, we were just doing a job. We were all hungry to be famous and successful, etc. And that was the criteria, just get rich and famous. It wasn't to get on really well together as mates, but we're trying to do that this time. We're trying to support each other emotionally, as Howard was saying.
Clearly, now that you're older, in particular, Jason, you've had a hell of a lot of surgery, I can tell even from this angle. I mean...
Yeah, but he looks good.
yeah, it's set very well, isn't it?
We all succumb in the end. We're all going to succumb.
You can hardly tell, in fairness.
Yeah, no, not from certain
your
angles,
eyes,
Rob.
yeah.
We had a chat about it yesterday, actually. Well, I had a chat about what we might have done. I
Go on.
didn't have everything done.
You're not. You can't.
I am.
You don't need it yet.
No, but I will end up looking like...
Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with Sylvester Stallone, by the way.
Sylvester Stallone's mum. Not Sylvester Stallone.
I'll tell you what we must do. We must play another track from the album. It's kind of not your normal Take That album. I mean, Gary, tell people that have not heard it, because it's not out till Monday, what's different about it?
I can't say that, because it is a normal album for us, because it's our next album. But I guess, as a listener, you'll hear a progression. We've also got a new partner. We've got Stuart Price, who's our new producer. Our first 2 albums were produced by John Shank, so we've changed a producer this time, so it's sonically going to sound different anyway. But to me, when I listen to the album, it sounds like 5 guys who are dying to be in a room together, who can't write the words down quick enough, and they're really excited about making music for the first time ever. We never made music in the 90s. The 4 of us have made music. With Rob, this is the first time we've ever seriously made music together.
And you're all credited as songwriters on this album for all the tracks. How does it work then? What's the dynamic? You go into a studio, you sit, Gary, in front of a piano and you churn out ideas?
It's been different every time we've written, but in general, I try and come up with like an instrumental, something that sounds good but with no vocals on at all. And at that point, press play and everyone just starts coming up with ideas, and then someone will come up with a lyrical line and we'll add that to it, and then it's like a jigsaw puzzle. It gets built and built and built on.
You're listening to the Steve Wright in the Afternoon podcast. It's a massive podcast. Huge. So enormous, in fact, it's called The Big Podcast.
All right, the boys are with us. Let's take that, by the way. And we asked yesterday afternoon for fans to get in touch with questions for the boys. And, of course, we're absolutely inundated with them. It went off. So we'll try and get through as many as we can. Tim, you want to get this phoner? I think it's Carol. Go ahead.
It is. It's Carol Reid, or it should be. Hello, Carol Reid.
Hello,
And where are you this afternoon?
I'm in Newcastle.
OK, well, I don't want to get you too excited, but you are through to Take That in its entirety. What's your question?
I would like to know if they did a WI type of calendar, which month would there be and why, and especially for Mr. Orange?
Mr.
Women's
Orange.
Institute.
Yeah, naked calendar.
Naked calendar, Rob.
Especially to
Great idea.
Mr. Orange, which month would you be and why?
July, which is my birthday month, I suppose, and I'd show my bottom.
It'd be July, yeah, because it would be warm enough. What month would you be then, Gary?
That birthday thing's good. I'll go for January, please.
That's original, eh?
I'll be January, because you have to wear a few more clothes in
Yeah,
January.
yeah, and
which
you're
means
shy,
I
aren't
don't
you?
have to be as naked.
Yeah. Mark?
I like this time of year, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I go
November.
here, leaves falling, you know, lots of autumn
February.
leaves.
Carol, what month would you be?
Probably December, log fires, spurs, things like that.
How long have you been a Take That fan?
Whatever.
Forever?
Yes.
Which one's your favourite?
Jason.
See.
Everybody say goodbye to Carol.
Bye,
Thank you, Carol. Can you ask the guys if they're planning to do any shows in the US, and if so, when and where? This is email from Barbara Ball in Philadelphia, USA.
No.
Thanks for that.
Broadway, though.
Broadway, yeah?
Yeah, we'll go and see a show there.
Yeah.
I'd love to. I'd love for us to have a go at going
Mark,
over
On
it.
your own, on your own, on your own.
I'm on my own.
On your own, on your own, on your own.
But why? You've had hits in America.
I just like the idea of the tour bus and travelling round for months and, you know...
On your own, on your own, on your own.
You see the problem with these, they don't like hard work.
You're on your own, mate. Hello, is this Greg Lawson?
Yeah.
Greg runs an entertainment agency that books tribute bands. Oh! You ask your question then, Greg. Go ahead.
Okay, I booked quite a few tribute bands in January for gigs this Christmas, and obviously they got booked out as 4 pieces, and now you're a 5-piece, so should these bands be performing as a 4-piece or a 5-piece this Christmas?
And what do you think about tribute bands anyway? I mean, if there are tribute Take That bands, and there are, how do you feel about that, Gary?
Hey, listen, mate, sorry, I know you've asked Gary. I've seen one recently, and they were brilliant. They were better than us. They were fantastic.
What were they called, Jay?
I can't remember. They were so good, I can't remember. I think they were called Take That 2.
Could you spot yourself, Jason?
I could spot all the lads. They had the mannerisms, they had the outfits, the haircuts. They were just all a bit taller than us, a bit more handsome, and better singers and dancers.
Was I in it?
No, you were in there. That was just 4, yeah. But actually, weirdly, only this morning in the shower, I was thinking, what are those boys going to do now? Rob's back. Are they going to get a 5th member? Let's hope they do.
Okay, well, let's ask the booking guy. Has the 5th members joined these Take That tribute bands?
Some of them have, yeah, but some of them have got a Robbie that'll do sort of half an hour, and then similar, I suppose, to the concert setup, but they'll have a bit with the 4-piece and a bit of Robbie, and then a bit with the 5-piece to finish. But obviously, a lot of the venues have already paid for a 4-piece, so got to get some more cash out of them now if they want a 5th one.
But you guys don't mind. Hear that?
Oh,
Great. That's flattering.
Thank you very much for calling.
Here's a story once, Steve, that's Alan Sugar, the guy that you're fired. That's him, isn't it?
Yeah.
Alan Sugar, he tried to book us for a party of his once that we didn't do. So he booked Take That instead.
Take that.
Take That.
And then, that's great. And then fire them. Yeah. We're going to do an email from Val Davis. I'm from Saddleworth near Alderman. Remember Mark being mobbed?
Near me, yeah.
Yeah, when he went for a drink in town once. This was in the early days of Take That. I wonder how the boys cope with stardom second time around. Perhaps you want to get that one, Mark?
You know, they do. When our boys caught with stardom second time around, and I was managed to do stuff, nip into the shops. I do still nip to the shops.
Yeah. Thanks for doing the rest of that letter, by the way.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
That was quite coherent.
Yeah. No, I do still nip to the shops. I like going shopping. I'm very fortunate where I am at the moment because I have a nice walk. I take Elwood to school, my little boy to school, and I have a nice walk to the park.
I thought you meant this Howard for a minute.
Yeah, the Elwood. Elwood.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. After I've dropped him off, I go and have a cappuccino in the local shop.
And you don't get mobbed?
It's a really big window that I can look out on the world, and I like enjoy that. No, I don't get mobbed at all, no.
Oh, that's great. All right, we're going to do one more. Why don't you get this one, Tim?
Okay, let's go to Johnny Farthing. Hello, Johnny Farthing.
Hello
Not
there.
a real name.
Is it a real name, Johnny?
It's a abbreviation from Jonathan, really, but yeah, it is Johnny Farthing.
Okay, and you're in High
Everyone
Wycombe,
says that.
and you're through to Take That. What's your question, Johnny?
I was just wondering, with a new tour coming up, and they're all forming together, whether they've made their transport plans for touring around the country. It's following on from a very good memory which I've got of when they first started out, and Gary Barlow was a driver of a white self-drive transit van, and it was just hilarious seeing the other lads in the back trying to make as much attention as possible as they could do to the crowds as they're driving out of a Radio 1 road show back in about 1989. Are they going to do that next year, or are they doing a little bit something different?
Best question.
I was wondering whether, if I hang around outside Wembley, whether they're going to come cruising by again, that was all.
Hey, who wants to take that? That's a good question.
Yeah. The question is how we're going to travel round, isn't it?
Yeah.
All separately in Phantoms.
That's Rolls Royce Phantom.
Yeah.
Got to move on. Thank you very much, Johnny. Really
Thanks for
appreciate
your
your
call.
call in. Hi, Wycombe. Ta-da. As we say goodbye to the guys, thank you very much for co-hosting this afternoon. Really enjoyed it. We should say that we pre-recorded this morning, and the boys are probably at home listening, so perhaps you want to say hello to yourselves.
Hello.
Hello,
Howard.
Hiya.
Hiya, man.
Hello, Robbies.
Take that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Stephen.
This was a free podcast from BBC Radio 2. Get more information now at bbc.co.uk/Radio 2. And tune in to The Big Show with Steve Wright every weekday afternoon at 2. Online, on digital, and on 88 to 91 FM.